if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
okay.
Yes,
Makazi.
Makazi, yes. In fact, Makazi, yes. Ayingodabs? Kudabs. Kaloku ngusister,
Makazi kaloku sister.
ngusister katata.
Oh yeah.
Ngusister katata uDabs, yeah, uRagadi. So, of auctioning off his personal belongings, saying that as the family, it has not agreed or has not agreed or it was not even discussed le party sale. So people are saying that maybe the Mandela family or yes, the Mandela family is broke, and then there's another story this morning that I came across whereby Uzenani, the son is complaining that Ubambe, I'm not sure whether it's part of the inheritance or whatever, but it's kind of it's like he is in that they're supposed to be receiving as a grandchildren, but Uzi Bambile from Kubo. So there's a lot of turmoil, and it's like, I don't know, there's a cat fight of some sort that is happening within the family, because I saw some of the items in one of the Instagram, I would say gossip, pages. It's like a briefcase, ID, like artifacts that he had received as gifts from different countries and from different statesmen. There's a lot like personal items, and people are saying that no, those things should be kept, and then they, they will, they represent part of the history, of South Africa, mostly Eka Mandela. So they don't understand why such valuable things, should be auctioned off. And it's quite like, because in year it's like $17,000 or something. Like the prices no is like very high prices. So there's I'm not sure, Umagazu, I'm not sure if she has responded to any of the concerns, and even the ANC, more especially minister. I think the minister, I'm not sure who else, but they are basically open, like they're going to court to prevent the sale of these items, about to be auctioned. Yeah. And then yes.
This thing, I mean, ubani lo mfana uMandla lo okanye ile intwana uNdaba.
Bobabini.
Yeah.
uNdaba noMandla, umbuso noNdaba.
Ingathi kumbuzo othi ubani awuthengisa into zikatatakhe. But really,
it's not like any other dad. It's not like Ngutatam, there's a lot of the Mandela name. It carries a lot of weight. And it,
isn't it probably that's the very same reason one can say that they are actually doing that. I mean, Ulomedem is doing this because of the fact that she knows
ID,
that it's worth. I mean, the ID as a trans guy.
It's an ID. No, trans guy. Is it?
Yeah.
It's a green ID.
Well, if you got it in 1993, 94, still use it.
1993.
Oh, okay.
Transition. Has there been any word from the foundation?
Yeah.
Hey, foundation, is it still functioning?
The foundation, are probably still dealing with the aftermath. I don't know who's acting there now after the sacking of the CEO.
Oh yes, that dude.
Yeah, who was what's his name? I forget his name.
But it's a very
he's
catchy name
because of the problems that they had with him. So the last time I heard he was sacked. But really a lot of people are up in arms about what is happening, that the stuff should be in the museum. And she's using a saying that they are going to do a Mandela curtain
of remembrance.
In Qunu, where Mandela was. But we know that
Mandela Museum.
I think that's a scam in terms of trying to make maybe money out of this thing.
I think
because
so.
We know that in the Eastern Cape, even there were some photos. I don't know if you guys had seen. There were also some queries around how the Nelson Mandela home in Qunu now is looked after. There's some problems there in terms of it's not being looked well after. So the question around the finances of even the family I don't know. I think Kaloku, I mean, at the end of the day, the monies were supposed to be left. The will was done and the money were left to individuals. So the individuals should have been taking care of themselves. I don't know what you think, Ed.
I was just wondering where the proceeds of these things are going to. Which is
that's a question on everybody's lips.
That's what she was saying. She was going to build a garden of remembrance in.
But with what? Like
with the proceeds from the auction.
But okay, let remembrance.
It's like switching one thing of the same kind of significance for another. Because the purpose that these artifacts serve is what the Garden of Remembrance would serve as well. That is to say, you know, a historical marker and legacy of who Mandela was and what he represented. Unless I don't know what they're talking about when it comes to the. Because here's the thing: what's the place for these artifacts? A museum? Could it be part of people's collections? Because there are collectors of all sorts of things out there. Incidentally, you might see that I'm a bit hesitant because one of the things I've realized about the collector's world is that it's a different world from our world at all. Completely. So things that we find strange and say, what do you do with that? Makes absolute sense to them. In the same way that some people cannot understand why a person collects wine, for example. People are like, what do you mean you collect wine? Wine is for drinking. You go to an auction for a whiskey bottle for so many thousands of dollars to keep. What is that? You know. Now you see, you're thinking exactly like a non-collector.
I would love to collect wine, honestly, but mostly champagne.
And for some people, art or books or coins or all sorts of different things.
But that doesn't go to a museum.
No. But usually the ones that are collected is because they've got a history to them. It's not just another bottle of whiskey.
Sure.
You know? So, for example, if Mandela had a whiskey collection, some people would want to
buy that whiskey.
And say, you know, this black label
belong to
this 21-year-old,
30-year-old.
But of course, I think they do garner value at the end of the day.
Yes.
So many years.
Because of their value.
Because there was someone who bought Mandela's
shirts.
The training shoes.
Yes.
I think the gloves at some point.
Yes.
But I think this one is really like the valid sort of point you're raising, Hector. The exchanging one for the other, where the country, as much as the value of these things lie with you as a family in terms of what you can do or you want to do but at the same time, the country as a whole, like you were saying, Sporty, there's interest in the person who is involved in this. Hence, people are coming out and saying all sorts of things because that person has lived beyond the family boundaries. It is a national treasure.
Yes.
So whatever is happening,
is an international icon.
Exactly.
So it's kind of strange, but I think also for me, these are some of the things that I think we lack as Black people, and not just here, but mostly all over, where in terms of understanding heritage and understanding the history as it were. Because even now, when we're talking about Mandela, but we can also, there are many other guys we can talk about. We can talk about Biko as well, along the very same lines in terms of all of these guys, because there is nothing that even us as a country that we attach value to the people who are actually being in the struggle. And those, Jeff Bezos, we don't know what's happening. Jeff Bezos was also, he's one of the people that we rank along those lines.
Of course.
But we hear
in the kind of thing that we do, if we're talking about lawyers, like how people talk about Bram Fisher.
Yeah.
But even that seems to have kind of faded. We have an airport or something, maybe Bram Fisher Airport.
But also, when you go to that airport, does it really embody? I mean, if you go to OR Tambo now, it's just the name that embodies OR Tambo, but there's nothing in there when you walk in that speaks to
Who
Or
Ortambo
Tambo
is,
I see
yeah.
now they've got a statue at
Skamandel.
the international arrivals. No, it's all
Oh,
Tambo.
okay.
So for the international arrivals, as they come into the
Yes.
Yeah.
concourse,
Mm.
there's a statue of O.R. Tambo there,
Okay.
kind of saying to, I suppose, to international visitors.
This is
Yeah.
Nankele umntu wale ndawo.
But you don't see any artifacts there,
Yes.
nothing, no, what you call, I mean, that actually speaks to the person that's
See,
been named after.
the trouble, I think the trouble with us as developing nations is that we really are at bread and butter issues. We want clean drinking water.
No, I think I mean
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's a justification. I'm
Yeah,
saying
yeah.
it sometimes makes us so preoccupied with
Yes.
what are we going to eat today that we almost forget that
Heritage.
life is much
Yeah.
much broader than this, and you can't wait for this to happen before you can focus on that, because you've got to do this without neglecting that as well. You've got to do all of these things. In fact, I mean, later on we're going. No, I'm saying, you think they should be done in order?
No, I mean, if you decide, because there's a budget for it. I mean, King Paulo Airport, they put the name there and then that's it. And who is this King Paulo? You don't go in there and
then we actually agree, because I am saying we have got this tendency, but what we should be doing is to focus on the small things without leaving all these other things undone. All of these things have to be done.
The whole package, if you decide to go and do it all the way. And then of course, I mean, Spokey Kuba.
No, just to, like, in conclusion, I think what I would have done as a family, ne? Like in each province, where Komhlambi, like you know, there's I can't remember,
It's
but
like a private auction. What
I'm
kind of
not
auction is
sure.
I think it's private. It's probably
given the prices are private.
it is going for.
I would be interested in that, and then I would be interested in what the proceeds are going to. Is this just this garden of remembrance? Whose idea is it? You know, that whole sort of thing.
Look, that garden of remembrance is probably not going to be as big. There is already a garden of remembrance in Joburg. But she's talking about building it in the Eastern Cape. I mean, couldn't she lobby the government of the Eastern Cape to do that?
Exactly.
You know?
And also now I would
then in there, but also, I mean, if guys, I mean, the reality of all things is that Kunu, who's gone to Kunu? Have you ever been? I've never been. I've never been. No, Kunu is different. Mostly,
Mvezo.
I've never been to Mvezo.
I've been to Kunu only because the way to Mtata passes through.
Yeah, that's the only way. You know. So to really actually,
but maybe it's a kind of thing that says build and they shall come.
Yeah. Okay. The price of the ID is $75,000. And then the price of a briefcase, I think the one that you used to use as an attorney.
Hang on now. Is that like a reserve price where the bidding is going to start from? Because it hasn't been
sold. No, but
it's going to start there.
Most probably. Okay. And then, that briefcase is $24,000. Also, the bid start price is that much. And then in Donley, I think it's a walking stick or something, $7,500. Yeah. And then it's Sanguzake, it's $3,000.
I'm just going, guys, to 75,000.
Just multiply by 20 or something like that. It is close to that.
So
$75,000.
So
it will be 100. No, it's 1 million.
No, it should be.
Wait, time's up, Ivan. What's the current rate now?
I'm there now on the current.
Oh, okay.
Converter.
No, it must be 14 something. Or it must be more than 10.
1,391,754.
Okay.
That's 75.
Yeah, no, that
$75,000. So I mean, that's just ID only.
Yeah, but it's not a lot of money.
It's a lot of money in rands, bruh.
No, so if it's just over R1 million, then it's not a very great lot of money for all of this.
No, for the Garden of Remembrance, yes, it's not a lot of money, and that's why I'm saying this.
No, it's not even a lot of money for auctioning it.
it's probably this is to line up someone's pocket, and that's it. You know, ulungsuklala, because we know she was at some stage. She was an ambassador somewhere, wasn't she?
Not to Zenan. I don't know. I think
it was one. It was
Zenani.
Between Zenani and Zinzi, one of the two.
Zenani was, and then Zinzi was at some point. Umakaziwe, no, unless maybe in the other administration. Or also, a gift from the Obamas. It's going for $50,000. Yon.
Gift Mandela befumene.
With Obamas.
What gift is that?
And yazi ayibonakali kakuhle lento, noba it's a blanket or something, I don't know.
So a gift from the Obamas, which was not so long ago, probably, and she's already putting it out there. It's really not good.
Mandela, and then and then his Ray-Bans are going for $20,000. So, okay, I think the next story was EDA launched its electoral campaign in KZN in Durban yesterday. So basically that's in the effort to win voters for next day, because they're saying basically collapsile, in particular the municipality. So they're saying that it's saying that the DA in KZN is stepping up efforts to dissolve the eThekwini Metro, because they believe that the municipality has collapsed. So that's what happened yesterday with the DA.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the president of DRC, Felix Tshisekedi, was sworn in for a second 5-year term yesterday, after sweeping elections that the opposition branded as a sham while calling for protests. Inauguration was supposed to be today or sometime in the week.
No surprises there.
Yeah. So our president is attending that inauguration. Yeah. And then we did speak about the metric results. So that came out on the 18th. Okay. Yes. So we'll move right along. And then another one, international, the UN Assembly President has reiterated his call for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza and the release of all hostages as the only credible course of action to address the conflict.
Okay.
I'm not sure if you have followed or you came across a story of a lady that has killed family members for another insurance payout.
A very, very young.
Yay!
Very, very.
Hey!
Like a recent graduate or something.
Yay!
Like that.
So,
in fact,
I saw her picture. Like what I was
initially, I thought, no,
no, I saw her picture this afternoon because I thought it's one of those. Like who is one Rosemary type of age group. Anyway, so she was denied bail.
So need to a teenager.
She's a young, like she's a young person. Like she's not at a like your Rosemary age. Yes. Basically.
So weird this time.
Yeah. So she's also being investigated for the deaths of her son, daughters, and husband.
Oh, come on.
On top of that, so Ibelake was denied this week, and then she's expected to return in March.
So can we say something about, or is there anything to be said about the fact that these are all women?
Oh, well, how many cases have we had?
Rosemary. Then there's a second
someone else, and then Kukolona.
And then this is like the third one that we are hearing of that has got the same sort of modus operandi.
Well, when I
the
think,
motive is almost the same.
When you think of it, bring like an amateur psychologist here.
Yeah.
Men who kill tend to be physical in terms of how they kill.
Yes.
Maybe because of our build-up and testosterone and masculinity and so on, they're likely to use brutal means. And then women who kill tend to use more subtle means. I suppose naturally because their physical stature and so on. Possibly. Although you do have far more men who kill than women. But it seems like it's not very surprising. In the same way that even when it comes to killing themselves, men tend to use
Much more
brutal,
dramatic.
yeah, you know, like they shoot themselves in the head, or
Yes.
they jump off a building. Women are more likely to take some poison or drink a
Yes.
pill or something like
Yes,
that.
yes.
So maybe there's something to do with just the sort of gender inclination.
But look, the motive, that's what we're talking about.
No, I get it. I'm not getting
Yeah.
I know that it's not just killing, it's about now.
Yeah.
But you
The
know, men
motive,
also
because-
usually kill, very often kill in the context of robbery.
Yes.
Yeah, in the
Unless
context
they're,
of
unless they're
robbery.
killing a woman, where,
But now
maybe there might be
these
sexual
guys are
issues
killing
involved.
family members because they and I think for me the other part of it is, it's in terms of the overall discussion, it's something that needs to be discussed in our communities, particularly as Black people, because you know, one time Ulanduga Usbalwam, you know, they buried, I think it was a number of years ago, where they were now bangcwaba umntana wakhe, yabo. So uthi ekungcwabeni umntana wakhe, and then kuzovela ex wife kabhuti wakhe, uyabo. So umkhulu walo ngumnina walo ongcwabayo, ongcwaba intombi yakhe, uyabo. So kuzovela ex wife kabhuti wakhe, uyabo, ezofuna izinto kunkosikazi, uyabo, walo mek uswelekelwe, uyabo, ba hey ntontoni caba embhalisile lo mntana.
Oh no.
So this is after the aftermath. Now the funeral is done and all of that.
Like what? The funeral cover.
Yeah, for funeral cover. Take and funeral cover. Yeah. So lumdana lona ngumntana akusekho nto imdibanisayo, because wadivorsa nobhuti.
Yes.
Which would have been ubhuti omdala, I mean utata omdala walo mntana. Now azothi ke ngoku njengoba elando afune ke ngoku ne-details zomnye ulanduka umninawa walo bhuti. Uyayibona entsho, so ufuna i-details zomninawa ngokufuna umbhalisa. Do you see this, where I'm going with this? That culture exists. Kaloku kwa into ba uzofuna in the aftermath yomngcwabo, it means le mali awusayifuneli.
For contribution.
Yeah,
yes.
It's mali ngoku zayitya ngoku. When ufuna nje documents to go in.
Akana timing.
And I think, I mean, that's one of the problems that societally kusenzeke izinto nje, those things are happening. It's like people by indlela yo investor yabo ngobomi bomnye umuntu ba ubani ngathi ubomba
Ambur.
Yeah, there's one funeral cover. The real thing is the life cover.
Yes.
Because now it's usually $1 million or a couple million.
Yes.
A lot of money now, this life cover.
But there's
a real motive to actually kill the person, not just simply to benefit from their death.
Exactly.
But to actually facilitate their death.
But because the life cover is not but I think in the main, the whole thing emanates from the fact that if I can do a funeral,
you could gain financially from the person dying, whether killed by you or dying by themselves.
But you're gonna benefit anyway. Anyway, so I think it was on Tuesday, there was a shootout in the taxi rank at Port St. John's this week. So there were 11 suspects that were.
Is it died down now? Because it looks like it was becoming an all-out war. Has it died down now?
Well, the last time I checked, I think it was on the Thursday? I saw, I think it was in the Daily Dispatch, ingati bebezamuvala entry points or something so that they can resolve this thing. I don't know how far is the, you know.
The life is returned to normal.
Yeah, basically in a way, because they are operating, people are using taxis. So I'm not sure. So basically, the 11 suspects that were arrested were accused of the violence there. Their case has been thrown out of court. That's after it was found that there was insufficient evidence. Yes.
So what I heard before was that bengekho dockets. This is what I heard.
Obvious alokhu sithathiwe. Ayicaci.
And they didn't appear kwasa uvele court ngenxa yoba bengekho documents. Ngoku ichithiwe.
Ichithiwe.
Wow.
Hayi jonga. Iyasebenza into whatever it is that they're using. And the sad part is that it's like, you know, people, innocent lives that, you know, get, you know, they're affected. Yes. Because I remember they were interviewing one of the commuters. Because we need to get somewhere, you know. So it's
those manifestations of this principle of South African law, you know, the freedom of a person, so important that if you can't bring forth cogent reasons now why the person's freedom should be restricted or taken away, you must let them go. Bring them in when you've got a reason.
Yeah, but
so whether it's the police or probably the police actually.
Yeah.
More than even the prosecutors might not have done a very good job.
Yeah, because I mean,
and you might really find that the court, for its part, had no choice but to let them go because there was nothing before them.
Yeah.
But that's the early stage. So it's the police because the guys have been caught because they're going to shoot out. So there would have been docket court within 48 hours. For bail. So that couldn't happen because it docket. So the court has no two ways about it but to say now it docket police.
It would be interesting to really see what's going on.
Police they take must support it docket to the
court.
Prosecutors.
Yes.
Prosecutors before the actualize it docket Selimkile police station. Isn't that how it should be? It should be.
Yeah, because the prosecutors then use that to determine whether there's a prosecutable case.
Yeah.
Because of the evidence that's been gathered by the police.
Yes.
The charges that they've brought before them and all that sort of thing. Then they decide, okay, whether they're going to take the case forward. So that's why I'm saying I think it was at the level of the police.
Yes.
Maybe before the prosecutors. I don't know. I haven't really done the case. Yeah, but that's
It's terrible.
It's terrible.
But it's a level of crime, ladies and gentlemen, in the country, and it speaks to that. It speaks to the idea that you know, you have a system that has broken down very much gradually over the years. It has broken down, and I don't think that there is enough you know, power within the system to actually really back in, you know, and turn back some of these things. Yeah, and that also is as a result of the fact that the political involvement, you know, the politics are at the center of these things. So the fact that now, I mean, if you look at the power of the let's say the taxi industry after 1994, that they actually have been given power because there was also a lot of thinking that you need to sit down, give them, once you sit down with the taxi guys, which happened a lot around that time, Mandela. Of course, it was a different sort of power dynamic with Nelson Mandela, because Nelson Mandela had that kind of aura and power, you know, for him to actually be able to rein people in. But it's a runaway train now. The taxi industry, I mean, yeah. But I liked what happened in the, I don't know if you guys saw, was it last year in the Western Cape? I liked what happened, that the Western Cape guys, they really stood their ground. And of course, the taxis stood their ground. But to a certain extent, for me, I think what it says is that when the government is kind of willing to bring the power that it wields, you know, it can actually get these guys in line to a certain extent. And I think that's what needs to happen to a certain extent in the whole country as it were. But do you think that the police minister we have has that capability?
Yeah, let's just leave it like that. So, yeah, let's just leave it like that.
Sure.
Okay, so Action SA councillor Unasiphi Moyo has been elected as the City of Tshwane's new deputy mayor. So she was elected unopposed with the multi-party coalition, expressing full confidence in her. So the election took place despite the EFF and the ANC boycotting the proceedings, claiming the process was flawed.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Gauteng has just been fractured. So the whole of
Eish,
Gauteng,
the whole,
Ekurhuleni, Johannesburg,
everything.
Tshwane, the whole Gauteng.
But
Fractured.
do you realize that whenever the NC loses power, they try to make that particular municipality or district or metro to be ungovernable? Like they try and bring like ikhona nje le disorder bafuna uza nayo, but ke, yeah. Anyway, and lastly, so the city of Johannesburg says it could take as much as 18 months to repair the damage from last year's explosion in the CBD. The blast destroyed parts of Lillian Ngoni and Simmons Streets. Remember that?
I'd even forgotten.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
thought it was Brea Street.
No,
The
yeah.
one where there was the underground.
Yes. Is
Did
it,
they
is
ever-
it still called
did-
Bree Street now?
Did they ever? Well,
It's Lillian.
Lillian Ngoni,
Lillian.
yes. Asali Gauteng enyindo.
They said
did they ever come to a conclusion? That's exactly what happened.
they did
Well, look,
say,
but it's a gas leak, ne?
it's a gas
Yeah.
leak,
So it was
but
an
not
explosion.
not yeah, it's an explosion, but not the gas that we used to cook. So it was a they say it's an addition of dirty things ngaphansi kwalalanduka, including the sewer piping and all of that.
Non-maintenance,
So, yeah,
basically.
yeah. So yonke lando, they say all of that it then
Combustion.
over time that dirt then turns into whatever the explosion was. Umabusi nobavu kule mcimbi onoteksi uthi basiphethe kakhulu, we can't even hike bavala indlela. And we know that's another part for me that speaks to the issue yokuthi umthetho awukho, because you can't have abantu bangakwazi uhike because of unoteksi. But what can we do? What can we say?
They should be brought into book, man, on taxi.
Sizawungena ngoku on a discussion, sizawudlala nje one or two songs, and then singene with discussion around the issue Israel.
Israel,
The case,
South Africa.
yeah.
Yes.
South Africa versus Israel.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sizawungena kulo case leyo, just a little bit betuna, a lot of people I know they said most of the outcome is going to be on the end of this month, January. So I don't know whether it means the 31st exactly, but we know that the outcome is coming at the end of this month. So now we play you guys a song. Mamelani aba basimamele ku Facebook, yanke ngokupha kwi apps zenu.